alcoholism and addiction impact a lot of people, and one of the things you really need to think about is the weaning off process, because lots of people advise that you just quit drinking. But that doesn't seem like a smart thing, because on a biological level, when your body is physically addicted, weaning off is a safer method. If you just quit, you wind up putting your body into shock in some places, and people can die from that. So I don't think that that's a safe thing to do with alcoholism. I suggest, I'm no medical professional, but I would suggest weaning off. And also, that would increase your success rate, because if, let's say, the best you could do today is to take one less sip than yesterday, that's okay. That's okay. It's one less, right? So just do a little bit less until you're comfortable with that level. And as soon as you feel comfortable with that level, challenge yourself to do one less sip again. And eventually you get to one less glass and one less glass per, hour. I knew somebody who used to have 18 drinks a day. I don't have that many bottles of water a day, He drank a lot, but weaning off is how he got alcohol free. So that's an effective method, and it might take some time. It takes everybody a different amount of time, so there's no set limit. It's, contingent on who you are and how long it takes you, what your comfort level is. But if you do it step by step and reward yourself for the little steps, a reward could be allowing yourself to be proud of yourself for having one less sip. It seems like nothing, because it's one less sip and you have 18 drinks a day, and so relative to 18 drinks, what's one less sip? It's no big deal. But it is. That first step is a really huge deal, and it should be celebrated, because it tells your brain that it's okay and it's a good thing, right? And the more you reward yourself, the more you'll repeat that. You'll want to. Your brain chemicals will change, your desire will change, and ultimately you're going to change and want to quit. Step by steps. It's a slow process sometimes, but it depends on who you are. Obviously, the best method to, not fall into alcoholism is to prevent it and notice when you're falling in. I know that when I was in college and I was hanging out a lot, it was no big deal, right? I'm going to parties, I'm hanging out with people, and I'm drinking. And then one day I looked back and I'm like, damn, I drank myself into a stupor every night for X amount of time. Right? Where's this road going to lead me? And when I recognized that, I'm like, let's see if I could have one less drink tomorrow. And when I tried that, it was difficult. It was difficult to quit. And as soon as I recognized that difficulty, I was like, oh shit. Because I was already in it. If it's difficult, you're already kind of in it. And at that point, I realized, I got to back out. Now, the beauty of alcoholism is that it's a straight line in, and you could just straight line back out. But it's step by step, sip by sip less, drink by drink less, and you take it day by day. If you falter, don't berate yourself. Shit happens, we all fuck up, and you have to be forgiving with yourself. And that's just the process. That's the physical addiction portion. The mental addiction portion is enjoying the party, enjoying the feeling, enjoying sometimes the numbness, right? Because it gives you a method of escaping some other bullshit, which is why you started drinking in the first place, probably. Unless you're just doing it for fun. Some people just do it for fun and then just fall into it essentially by accident because they don't realize how much fun they've been having and for how long. But when you realize, when you recognize, then you need to start backing out. I've known quite a few people that fell into alcoholism, but for various reasons. One guy wound up killing his family by accident in a car accident, and he never recovered. That kind of stuff happens. He couldn't deal with the death of his wife and his daughter. So it's really difficult for some people because there's an emotional part of it too. It's not just the physical part or the mental part, it's also the emotional part. And it's really difficult to deal with on multiple levels. Each one of those levels needs to be treated separately and together. So it can't be just, let's quit this drink today, right? Because if you're not thinking about the mental aspect by itself, and you're not thinking about the emotional aspect by itself, and the physical aspect by itself, the chances of failure are much greater. And every time you fail, you wind up berating yourself and telling yourself you can't do it. But that's not the truth. The truth is that your methodology was bad, and you could try a different method, and you can have high chances of success. But you have to create an environment where your brain can believe you. That's the important part, is that your brain has to be able to believe you. If you can't create that kind of environment, then you need help. So some people can actually get out of alcoholism on their own, but some people need additional assistance. And either way is okay. That's just part of the life process. Just because you're an alcoholic one day doesn't mean that 5 years later or 20 years later you still have to label yourself an alcoholic. You don't have to carry that title for the rest of your life. You don't have to carry that label for the rest of your life. You don't have to let that label own you. You own yourself, and people go through phases in life. They fall all the freaking time. Everybody falls. Now, whether it's alcoholism or depression or anxiety or most drug addiction, but maybe not all, because I don't have enough knowledge to confirm about drug addiction, all of them, but some of them, it's the same linear system where you fall in a certain way for similar reasons, and you could fall back out the same way that you came in, but step by step and backwards. Workaholism actually falls into the same thing too. And love also, these rules apply. Because sometimes we fall too deeply in love, and sometimes you need to back out of love on certain levels of yourself. So if you love something too much and you find your heart hurts too much, you can actually back out of that just the same. It's just a little bit less every day. So the process is the same. The process is what's important, and you could take that process and apply it to any aspect of your life where you find that you're doing too much of something. Maybe you're a shopaholic. One less freaking pair of shoes this month or this week or whatever, and you could get yourself out of that too. If you're a kleptomaniac, you could probably use the same method to get yourself out of that too. It would just have to be step by step, and you have to want to do it. That first step is the hardest, but that first step is about making a choice. It's about saying, I want my life to be different now, right? So in this moment, you're making a choice that says, I want to change. And as soon as you make that choice that you want to change, small changes within you begin to occur. So regardless of your issue, this is probably an effective method. I don't know about regardless. It might not apply to every freaking thing in the world, but it's, you know, a broad range application. And it's important that people understand that they don't have to be stuck wherever they're stuck today. It doesn't have to last into their entirety of their life, you know? We all change. And I think that society judges people too much. People fall into addiction and alcoholism and depression and this and that, and they seek therapy, and then the other people who have not had those problems, they judge the hell out of those people. Well, they don't recognize that it's just a matter of time before they fall into some shit too. They're probably already OCD or some crap, you know? Everybody has issues. I knew a guy who had OCD and didn't recognize that he had OCD. I wound up dating him, and we left the house one day, and we drove about 45 minutes out when he was like, we have to go back so I could flick the light switch on and off 3 times. Right? He was so stuck on that. And I'm like, all right, you know, this one time, right? This one time we'll go back. You're going to show me what the hell you do and why you do this shit. And then we're going to move forward from there, but you are not going to continue doing this shit into infinity. Because it's ridiculous to drive out, you know, and waste nearly 2 hours of your day just to flick the freaking light switch on and off. So why are you doing that is the question. Why are you addicted? Why do you have OCD? You have to ask why. And when you answer that question, when you answer why you fell into that, then you could help yourself learn about yourself enough that it could bring you back out. So when we went back to the house and he did the light switch thing, I'm like, this is the craziest shit. But I'd already been in and out of OCD before, you know, in my own life. And the way I got out of it is, the way that I helped him out of it is that you make tiny changes, and sometimes you have to not allow yourself to do something. So in the beginning, it's like you have to fight through flicking that light switch on and off, and instead of turning around and going back home to check if the coffee maker is still on or whatever, just keep driving. You have to override yourself. You know, your brain wants to do something, and you have a strong desire to pull you in a certain direction, but you have to override yourself and decide that you don't want to do this thing anyway, and you're going to continue on the right path, right, away from that. So not going back home and flicking that light switch on and off is going away from it, and that's a good thing. That's exactly what you need to do. Sometimes when you're in it, whatever your situation, you might not be able to recognize some things yourself. It's really difficult to recognize your own path, and sometimes you need external sources to point shit out to you. So maybe somebody else that you know sees this video, and then they talk you through and then help you out with what you need to do, what's personal to you. You know, that's what friends are for, that's what family's for, and that's an important thing, to have close people that care.